this video, I'm going to show you how to make this super easy crochet scarf. This is designed for an absolute beginner. We're going to use some very basic stitches, and I am using some very plushy blanket yarn. So this is a very cozy, warm scarf, and it's nice and thick. We're going to use a nice big hook and some thick yarn so it stitches up very quickly. The finished scarf measures about 64 inches long, but I'm going to show you how to make it longer or shorter if you like. And it's about 8 inches wide. So it's a very nice size scarf and super duper easy to make. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, a tape measure is super helpful to measure as you go along. We're going to be using a 10mm crochet hook. Now, I wanted to mention that as a side note, different manufacturers use different letters for this 10mm hook. This is an N/P. I've seen it as just a P crochet hook. And actually on the yarn label, they say 10mm M hook. So I would not pay attention to the letters because they do change, but the 10mm hook is what we need. Now we're going to be using a yarn called Sweet Home by Red Heart. It's like a plushy blankety type yarn, and this is a variegated bright color. It comes in lots of different colors. Here's one of the other colors, as you can see here. Now if you need to substitute yarn, just look for a yarn on the yarn label that is a super bulky 6 and recommends that 10mm hook. Okay, so I have my yarn and my hook, and I wanted to also say, I didn't mention this before, this is called a variegated yarn, which means it changes colors all by itself. This is a fun choice, so you don't have to change colors on your own. The color work is kind of done for you, and it's fun as you're working to see the colors change as well. We're going to begin by making a starting chain. So wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop and pinch it. Bring the yarn behind that loop you just made, reach in with your hook, bring up a loop, and tighten. We're going to do 16 chains to start our scarf. Now the number of chains isn't super important because we're not following a special stitch. We're just going to be making some double crochet stitches. So you can really make your starting chain any length you like, but we're going to do 16 chains on ours. So to make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. Let's do that again. Wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. So that was 2 chains we just made. So we need to do 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So here is our starting chain, and like I mentioned before, the self-striping or variegated yarns are really fun for projects like this. So what we're going to do now is go into the 4th chain from our hook and work a double crochet. So what we're going to do is this loop that's already on the hook does not count. So go 1, 2. Now this yarn is fluffy, so if you're having a little bit of trouble seeing, you can sort of take your fingers and open up those chains a little bit. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in that chain right there, we're going to work our first double crochet. So to make a double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert it into that chain that we just talked about, wrap the yarn around the hook again and bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap the yarn around the hook again, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap the yarn around the hook again and bring it through the last 2 loops. So we just worked our first double crochet stitch. We're going to do a double crochet in each one of these chains across. So we're going to start off slow and then we're going to pick up a little bit of speed. I also wanted to say you can back up the video at any time, and also there is a slow motion feature on YouTube as well. So let's do that one more time. Wrap the yarn around the hook, and then go into that next chain, insert the hook into that chain, bring up a loop, 3 loops are on the hook, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Go into the next chain and work your next double crochet. Go into the next chain, work your next double crochet. We're just doing this all the way across. I'm just going to get a little bit more yarn here. So we're just going to work our double crochets across in each chain. Just like that. And again, as a side note, it is really fun to see the yarn change colors because we already have a couple of colors on our first row. If you're doing a solid color, it will look equally lovely as well. Okay, so we're just working our double crochets all the way across. And if you need to back up and see the double crochet slower at the beginning, feel free to do that at any time. Okay, and you're going to do this all the way across until there's one chain left, and then just work a double crochet in that very last chain. So here is row 1. We have a really nice start, and because we're using this large hook and this fluffy yarn, we have quite a bit of height already. Okay, so let's move on to row 2. Row 2 is the row that you'll do for the entire scarf. So once you master row 2, you can just keep on going until your scarf is as long as you'd like it to be, or until you run out of yarn, whatever comes first. So I'm going to grab a little bit of yarn off my yarn ball here. And what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. So remember, with the chain, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3. Turn your work, and you're ready to start the new row. So this chain here at the base of it, you'll see a little stitch, a little hole. Okay, we're not going to work into that because that is, this chain 3 that we just did counts as one of our double crochets on the row. So you're going to hop over to that next column, and at the top there will be a little hole or stitch. We're going to work into that one. Okay, so remember, with the double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert it into that stitch that we just talked about, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the next 2 loops. Okay, now we have our chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and we've worked our next one into that next stitch. Okay, all right, work a double crochet into the next stitch. It's that little hole at the top of this double crochet column. You can see it right here. Work a double crochet into the next stitch. Work a double crochet into the next stitch. And a double crochet into the next stitch. And we're just working a double crochet in each stitch all the way across. Okay, I'm just going to get a little bit more yarn. Okay, so just continue across with your double crochets. Double crochet, double crochet, and our colors are just displaying so beautifully. Okay, we're coming up to the end of the row. Work a double crochet into that last stitch. And then you can see our turning chain here. What you're going to do is go right into that topmost turning chain. So if you turn it on its side, you can see it's 3 chains. So go to the 3rd chain up, that topmost chain, and work a double crochet into that topmost chain of your turning chain. Okay? And then you can kind of straighten things out a bit. So row 2 is complete. And let's zoom out a little bit so you can see. So like I mentioned before, for row 2, you're just going to be repeating that same row over and over and over again until your scarf is as long as you would like it to be. So I'm going to keep going with mine, and then when we rejoin, I'm going to show you how to finish it off, and we're going to weave in some ends, and then our scarf will be complete. Okay, I've been working my scarf, and I have some really nice length on. I've been working my row 2 over and over and over again. So when you're done that last stitch, you can fasten off. So grab your scissors. So what we're going to do next is cut the yarn off the yarn ball, and then we're going to wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it all the way through the loop, and our scarf is complete. The last thing we need to do is grab our tapestry needle, And if you have any yarn ends, you want to weave them in now. So let me just slide this up so you can see it better. We're going to thread our tapestry needle, and whenever you have a project where you have lots of different colors, our yarn tail here is blue and a little bit of this like seafoam color. So we sort of want to stay in the same color area so you don't see this piece of blue yarn traveling through a pink area, okay? So thread your tapestry needle, leaving a little tail here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our project with our needle, and we're going to go and we're just trying to stay in this blue area here, okay? So I'm going to go in one direction with my tail like this. I sort of just traveled all through the blue section. And then in order to sort of lock that tail in so it won't pop out later, I'm going to come back in the other direction with my needle here. And then you can grab your scissors and give it a little snip, and that tail should disappear. Okay, and if you had another tail down here, I already wove mine in, but if you have another tail at the bottom, go ahead and weave that in as well. So let's just clear all this stuff out of the way here. And our scarf looks beautiful. It's ready to wear or gift. This also makes a wonderful donation scarf if you have a need where you live to give some donation scarves as well. So that is how you make a very easy beginner crochet scarf. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Sparkle and Splatter video updates. Thanks again!